Hi everyone, it's Ailin here, back again with another video. So this video is actually part two of a case discussion that, if everything is timed correctly, was posted last week, and then this week is part two, right? So in last week's case discussion, I was discussing a case of a recent client of mine that came to me with many different health issues, like many different chronic symptoms like mysterious weight gain, many emotional issues, abdominal distension, abdominal pain, and then other health issues that I didn't get a chance to discuss in part one because her case was rather lengthy, but we will be able to discuss in this video part two. So pretty much I wanted to make this video so you guys can see kind of like what my process is when I start to like put all the puzzle pieces together of like what is causing your health issues or your symptoms or your disease like conditions. And this is kind of like how I work. I guess this video will show you guys what goes on in my brain when it comes to analyzing your case all together and all of the different things that I take into consideration. Okay, so depending on what your weaknesses are, what your health history looks like, what medications you've taken or are currently taking, you know, what your family history shares in their genetics, right? What your irises reveal, all these different types of things. I take everything into consideration to build a specific diet plan and herbal protocol for you, because as I said before in the previous video, every single person's protocol is going to look different. So it's not a matter of like, oh, I'm able to dig deeper into my detox, I'm better than anyone else, you know, I'm better than anyone else because I've done 90 days of juice fasting or 120 days of juice fasting, right? Everyone of you guys, like everyone needs to remember that detox is not a race. Healing cannot be rushed, okay? Healing is always going to take place at the right time for each person. It's going to be paced exactly how it should be, okay? So if you're in a point right now on your health journey where you feel like you could improve, you can dig deeper, then follow that calling. However, if you feel like you are doing things too much too soon, you're being too hard on your body, then it's okay to slow things down. So with detoxification, we must always walk with balance, okay? And this is kind of like what I help you guys do with my knowledge and experience, and you know, the things that I share on these videos, the things that I share during our consultations. I help you remember that balance so you can still succeed in the long term on your healing journey, but you're also making progress day by day, okay? So yeah, that's what I'm gonna discuss. I'm gonna discuss her case now. So these are, you know, anytime you guys work with me and book the Master Your Health package, a health questionnaire is sent out to you, an in-depth health questionnaire where you answer questions, you check off what symptoms you're currently feeling, and so there's always like a box, a space where you can type everything that you're feeling, any health issues that you want me to know about, right? So these are her words, in her own words, the client, and just so you guys know, I have her permission, her verbal permission to share, you know, my findings on her case. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there, okay? So the one thing that we didn't get to discuss last time was the fact that she was feeling a lot of pain in her left breast. And she said that it's almost like a hand was going into her left breast and squeezing it and grabbing it. And it felt like electrocutions, almost like a jellyfish had like zapped her, right? And she said that she feels this pain on and off, but it gets even worse, like according to her cycle, right? So, you know, I personally have experienced that type of pain before. It's very scary. She actually thought, like, her first thought was like, oh my God, like I have breast cancer or something, right? But upon inspecting her breast, she said that she didn't feel like any lumps or tumors or swollen lymph nodes, nothing out of the ordinary. So that's great. But it still signifies that she's having problems with draining acids out of that area. So that's concerning to me. we have to pull all that out. And when I analyzed her eyes, she did have a chronic weakness in her upper left breast. So that means that that area of the iris was very dark in its fibers. They were spaced apart and it was dark. So that meant that she has a chronic weakness there. When I tell you guys you have a chronic weakness in this area of your body, when I look at your eyes through iridology, it means that that tissue is having trouble with draining lymphatic waste out, as well as bringing circulation, oxygenation, nutrition into that area of the body. And it's having problems with communicating within the nervous system the needs of that region of the body. Okay, so that's what that signifies. And how we're going to heal any chronic tissue, organ, or gland in your body is by going after it with specific herbs that clean and strengthen those tissues. So the herbal formulas are always going to be tissue specific, gland specific, organ specific, right? So when it comes to healing the upper breast, what comes to my mind is, okay, even though she doesn't have lymph node swelling, the lymph nodes are right here in the axillary region, right next to the breast. So you need to be on a lymph node formula, right? Something else that's really good is spasm calm formula. If that pain is being agitated or being influenced by the nervous system due to stress and the nerves firing, then the brain and nerve formula is going to be good, and the spasm calm formula is also going to be good. Another thing that's really good is to address the colon. Cleaning out the colon will always drain the upper regions of the body and drain that out. And lastly, the female reproductive formula is also fantastic, because at certain points in your cycle, for every woman, you run higher in estrogen. And so whenever we run higher in estrogen during our female cycle, that adds to the acidic burden of your body. So wherever you're most acidic in your body, when that estrogen spikes up, then it's like acid on top of acid, and you're going to feel pain, you're going to feel inflammation in those areas of your body. So in her case, since she has a chronic weakness in her left breast, she feels it in her left breast, okay? And something else that you can also add is castor oil packs. If you are someone that experiences pain in your breast or has this issue like she has, then you can put castor oil packs on top of your breast. And so you do that by using cold pressed castor oil. You dunk like a cotton cloth or like a towel or something like that in castor oil. Then you put it on top of the area that you're experiencing pain in. And then you put like a cellophane on top of it, or like a plastic wrap on top of it. You put a hot water bottle, which is a wet form of heat, which is very important when it comes to using a castor oil pack. So you put that on top, and then you leave it on, preferably overnight. The longer you leave it on, the better, undisturbed, right? But if you have the time during the day, you can also like kind of lay on the couch, you know, hang out for a few hours with the castor oil pack on, then that's fine. But I do always say that at nighttime is best. Of course, obviously don't burn yourself. Be very careful with the heat from the hot water bottle. So in that case, you can kind of like wrap it around a towel to make sure it doesn't burn you. So that's a good thing. So yeah, there's little detox tips and tricks like that I share with you guys during our consultations whenever I see that it's necessary. So in this case, it was very necessary for her. So another thing that she said was she needs to constantly clear her throat. So she said, needed to constantly clear my throat. I cough up mucus, can't breathe through nose properly. There were a lot of things going on with that. So in her eyes, I noticed these like black lesions, these radii solaris emanating from her colon and going to the top of her head region. So in that upper region of the iris, you have the sinuses, and especially if they're emanating from the colon wall and extending beyond, going up into the brain area. She had multiple of these, like 3 or 4 radii solaris. Then that means that you have a chronic weakness in your sinuses, which she had. So how you address sinuses from the root problem, like we're addressing the root cause here, right? Since those lesions were emanating from the colon, I know to tell her, you know, I'm telling her she needs to deeply clean out her colon, deeply. So going in there with the GI Broom, the GI Renew formula, the lymphatic capsules, all of these things is going to start to drain the toxicity out of the colon, and lymphatically so that toxicity is not influencing her mucus production, because from the sinuses, the mucosa in the sinuses is actually connected all the way down to the mucosa in the colon. So you're going in, you're digging deep into cleaning out the lymphatic system and pulling the acidosis, the interstitial lymphatic constipation is what we call it. As you pull that out, your sinuses will start to drain and clear. But it seems to me like sometimes if people experience a lot of inflammation in the sinuses or the throat, or needing to like constantly cough up this mucus or sneeze this mucus out, you could be in the vicinity of having a trigger, you know? So it can be like either dust or some type of allergen, maybe something you're eating, maybe it's gluten or rice or dairy or something like that. Nuts, proteins, things like that can produce a mucosa response in the mucous membranes, constantly so. Number 3, stress can also be a factor. If you're mentally and emotionally stressed, you can also produce a lot of mucus here and here. People that speak a lot, constantly talking, you know, I'm kind of like one of those people because I'm constantly talking to make the videos and during our consultations, but you can start to produce a lot of mucus in your throat or in your sinuses if you're constantly talking, constantly stressing out that, you know, those tissues of your body. So there's a lot of things to consider. Again, with the allergens, they can be environmental, it can be seasonal, it could be something in your house. But at the end of the day, people that have allergies, people that are exposed to allergens, and then they have that sort of immune response of producing mucus, you know, why is it that some people produce mucus in the vicinity of allergens and some people don't? It's because the people that have those allergies and sinus and throat issues, they have lymphatic problems, major lymphatic problems, okay? And so when we looked at her eyes, I saw that she had a lot of chronic lymph in the sinuses as well as weaknesses. So again, trouble draining lymph, trouble bringing in oxygen, trouble with nerve responses. So that's what her main root cause is and what she's gonna go after. Formulas that she can do is the 3-lung tincture or 3-lung tea. She can do an herbal inhalant with the 3-lung tea, which means, you know, you brew the 3-lung tea in a pot, you put your head over it, you put a towel over your head, and you can just smell the 3-lung tea. That's going to start to break up all this mucus congestion, these physical obstructions. Likewise, you can drink the 3-lung tea. And, you know, she can do a neti pot nasal irrigation with the Heal tea. That's also very good. She can use essential oils too. This is what I told her. She could do like peppermint oil, eucalyptus oil, rosemary oil, tea tree oil, all of these like menthol type of oils, minty type of oils really help to open up the sinus passageways and can offer you relief during your detox, especially if you're experiencing that as a detox symptom. So you can diffuse it, or you can stand in like a steam shower or a steamy shower. What I personally like to do is I like to put a few drops like on the floor of the shower, and if I'm taking a hot shower, then I can breathe and inhale the essential oils in that way. So yeah. And lastly, this is something that I've been telling people for a long time, is if you have sinus issues, you could even go to the sauna. So the sauna works in 3 very good ways to detox your body, okay? When people first think about the sauna, they think, okay, the sauna is great to eliminate acids from my skin, right? But it actually takes the burden off of the kidneys, from the kidneys having to eliminate all the acids. So the skin can also share in the kidneys' burden, and so it can relieve the kidneys of all of its duties, right? So it's beneficial to the kidneys to get them to filter. You use the sauna, you can see more kidney filtration, will decongest your skin, of course. But then number 3 is it actually helps to open up your sinus passageways. And people that are having trouble eliminating from the upper head region, like through sneezing and like having cold and flu-like symptoms, once they go into the sauna, they tell me like, oh wow, you know, Ailin, that suggestion was great because I finally started to sneeze and, you know, finally started to eliminate the deep obstructions The issues that this girl is experiencing right now is she's having sinus issues, but it's fresh mucus production. That's the problem, is she's coming into contact with something and she's getting this immediate response. But through detox, we get rid of the reason why that's happening, but we also get rid of the old mucus that she still has trapped within her body. That old mucus looks like green, yellow, brown. New mucus looks clear or white. So not only are we getting rid of that, but we're also getting rid of the deeper stuff. And if people have had sinus issues all their life, I have even seen people eliminate like dark brown and black mucus from the sinuses, or even like, you know, pulling out these mucus plugs, of these hard masses where you look at it and, you know, you guys send me the things that you've eliminated. I thankfully don't find it gross. I find it fascinating because it's kind of like, it comes with the territory of my field, right? But it's very shocking what people can get out of them during detox. And that's why I say it's like detox will get rid of anything in your body that you have right now. If you have a tumor in your body, or a polyp, or a cyst, or a fibroid that you are not even aware of, your body's going to pull that baby out. So it's like, you don't really need to do a ton of tests on your body. You know, I know some people are like kind of scared, like, oh, you know, I need to do this test, this MRI, this X-ray, this CAT scan, this ultrasound, you know, testing multiple times to try and find out what's wrong. But you don't have to worry. Detox is going to take care of it, you know? So the outcome of the test is not going to change the fact that you still have to detox, right? It's not going to change the path that you're going to take, since detox is the number one way of healing, the deepest way of healing everything in the human body, right? So I hope, like, for those of you that have sinus issues, I hope that helped you guys. Okay, now the next part is, she says, my sense of smell is usually blocked. Occasionally I have the odd 2 to 5 minutes of being able to smell. I have only ever been able to smell on longer fasts and in the presence of Indian gurus, where their energy immediately unblocked everything. Wow, okay, that kind of gives us a hint, right? Remember when I was telling you guys about how stress and nervous tension can be blocking her sinuses? That right there, in the presence of gurus, or in that environment of deep peace, you can eliminate better. You can not experience that inflammation. So that's fantastic. And then she said that she's been able to have like 2 to 5 minutes of being able to smell, perhaps in another environment where oxygenation is better, where there's less pollution, less exposure to triggers, you know, that happens. But, you know, the lymphatic system, lymphatic formulas, lymphatic tincture in particular is going to help her to drain this out as well, okay? So that's fantastic. Okay, now the next part was bladder weakness. Like when I laugh really hard, I have peed my pants before. It's always been this way. Okay, so that tells me that she has a parathyroid gland weakness and or bladder weakness. Looking at her eyes, she had that weakness, chronic weakness, where her bladder is. But what controls urination, or like, you know, not being able to hold your urine, or, you know, if you laugh, you know, if you cough, you can urinate, you know, parathyroid gland, that controls calcium utilization in the body. So it seems to me like, since she has been burning up, you know, all the connective tissue of her bladder, her body's just been leaching calcium from that connective tissue in the bladder, making that bladder weaker. So you're not able to hold your urine during those times, okay? So to fix this, along with her prepared diet, you know, her high raw diet that I wrote up for her, I put a parathyroid glandular for her to take. You know, parathyroid glandular is essential. And then I coupled that with alfalfa and kelp. Those are high calcium sources. So I made sure to pair a parathyroid glandular to strengthen, to help her parathyroid gland remember how to function again, because it was a genetic weakness in her eyes. And then I paired it with whole food sources of calcium, not isolated calcium. Isolated calcium is very dangerous to take. Do not take calcium supplements. It will destroy your mineral balance in your blood. That's very important. And it can also create bone spurs in your body or calcifications. So guys, don't take calcium supplements. If you're someone that runs low in calcium levels, or you have osteoporosis or things like that, then really seek herbal sources of calcium, which very, very high sources of calcium can be found in kelp and alfalfa, right? Okay, yeah, so that's what I recommended for her. And you know, sometimes if people and adults have incontinence, it can also come from the pituitary gland. But in this case, it wasn't really that much for her. It was more of like a physical thing, like laughing or sneezing or things like that, creating that connective tissue weakness. But a pituitary gland weakness can also control urination in the body. So if that's the case, then you give someone a pituitary, you know, I would give someone a pituitary herbal formula or glandular. Okay, so the next part of her health assessment was pain in her shoulders, pain in my shoulders, joints, almost constant. So she told me she had pain in her shoulders, in her knee, in her heel, all major joints of the body. Looking at her case, and I know for those of you that watched part 1 of this you know, case discussion, I had said that she has a lot of moles on her body. I saw that in the pictures, meaning she has fungal issues. So arthritis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or any joint pain can be caused by fungal issues. And you can kind of see that, like if you're someone that has Candida, if you're someone that has itchy skin, that could be fungus. Low energy or fatigue issues, that can be fungus. Starchy cravings, you know, carbohydrate, like unhealthy carbohydrate cravings can be a sign of fungus. There's many different signs of fungus, right? But in her body, it was moles. So this is because fungus in your body produces uric acid, and that settles in between the joints, further inflaming joint issues. So how to resolve this is get rid of the fungus, get rid of the root causes of the fungus, which is a pancreas weakness, adrenal weakness, sugar metabolism from the adrenals, poor, you know, digestion of carbohydrates from the pancreas. Both of those can create fungal issues. And then actively taking a parasite M formula, that can help a lot. But in times of like extreme pain, you know, some people, and even myself in the past, I've experienced, and people have experienced, like a swollen knee joint or knee pain, or, you know, shoulder pain, things like that. Put a castor oil pack on that area. Put a castor oil pack there. If you ever experience inflammation, castor oil helps to break up lymphatic stagnation, acidosis in that area, and can help drain and soothe. It's very alkaline, castor oil, so make sure to get cold pressed hexane free castor oil. So yeah, and you know, obviously this goes without saying, connective tissue weakness, cartilage breakdown in between the joints, that can also be as a result of having a parathyroid gland weakness, which we discussed in the previous issue that she had mentioned. Next was exhaustion, fatigue, excessive sleeping, but also insomnia. I often wake up after 1 hour of sleep with nervous legs, racing mind, can't fall back asleep for many hours, wake up from any sound. So she's an extremely light sleeper, and I often see these symptoms paired up with each other. It's very unlikely to encounter someone that doesn't have these bunched up together: anxiety, fatigue, and insomnia, needing to sleep a lot. There were many moving parts when I was analyzing her eyes and, you know, reading through her symptoms. So number 1, let's start from the top: exhaustion. And she, like when we were talking in our consultation together, she described herself as lazy. You know, she's like, I know I should do certain things, but I can get really lazy. Like I can get really lazy with meal preparation, or I can get very lazy with taking herbal formulas, or, you know, tinctures or capsules, right? And I said, okay, we're going to address this. This is what's going to keep you steady and focused on your healing journey, and why you've been having problems with flip-flopping back and forth all this time. So I saw in her eyes big animation of life weakness right there at 12 o'clock on the iris. What that means is when people have a weakness in that area, you can have a lack of motivation, lack of drive, needing to sleep many hours, you know, needing 10 hours, 12 hours of sleep, and after waking up, you still feel exhausted and tired. That's very common, having that hypothalamus gland weakness. So putting on a hypothalamus glandular is necessary to help balance that fatigue issue, you know. And people that have depression, oftentimes I see a weakness in this region of the iris and of the body, and it kind of like emulates symptoms of depression, you know, fatigue, lack of motivation. That can be like very like depressed like symptoms, right? So of course, after having a hypothalamus gland weakness that I saw, I was like, okay, how are her adrenals? She had adrenal weakness. She had an adrenal weakness, so we're gonna address that as well. And it was very telling for me, because when I looked at her blood pressure when she gave it to me, I saw that she was running very low blood pressure. On her left side, she was 97/57. If you have low blood pressure numbers like that, the top number represents the adrenals. You know that you have weak adrenals. The top number should be 120. The bottom number should be 60. So she's suffering a little bit with her left kidney as well. So she had left kidney and adrenal weaknesses. And I can just tell that by seeing her blood pressure. But, you know, to the severity of how bad it is, you can see that in the iris. So both things are important to have as information for me, right? On the right side, I saw the right side was 105/62. So her right kidney is looking a little better. 62, great. Normal number for the kidney on the bottom should be 60 to 70, right? But the top number is still quite weak as well. Top number should be 120 and it's 105, so this is low blood pressure. So I advised her to take licorice root tincture to increase her blood pressure to combat her fatigue issues during her detox, right? So you want to like take licorice root, but you want to take it on and off while also checking your blood pressure to make sure it doesn't exceed 120/60, right? But given this information, it's very interesting because she told me that all the pain and inflammation she feels in her body, she feels it on both sides, but it's more pronounced on her left side. She has more issues on her left side, okay? And you can just see that. If your kidneys and adrenals are weaker on the left side of your body, those kidneys filter the left side of your body, the right filters the right side of your body. So looking at her eyes on her left side, she had more chronic weaknesses that had developed as a result of her left kidney and adrenals being weaker, being more weak. So over time, more weakness is developed. It really comes down to the kidneys and adrenals and how, like, what is the health? The kidneys and adrenals, that determines how you're able to remove waste through your lymphatic system to keep all tissues and glands and organs healthy in your body. So those are gonna be like, that's the number one focus for every person. Every person is kidneys, adrenals, and lymph system. And then everything else depends on your case, depends on your symptoms, depends on your eyes, right? Okay, so now going back to this part, yeah, so she said exhaustion, fatigue, excessive sleeping, we discussed that, but insomnia. So insomnia, there's a few types of insomnia. There's the insomnia that means you have trouble going to sleep, right? And then there's an insomnia where you have trouble staying asleep. And she had both. And when we were talking in our calls, she was like, you know, really when it comes down to it, Ailin, it's because I don't really give myself time during the day to do the things that I want to do. So she had realized during a consultation, she was like, oh, it's like I'm retaliating. When I go to sleep at night, I don't go to sleep at the proper time. So I end up going to sleep like at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I was like, okay, so it's kind of like you're fighting with yourself. It's like an internal battle. It's like your inner child is protesting, you know? And so I told her, okay, so how can we fix this? To get a good night's sleep, for you to go to sleep at a proper time, what you need to do is set up a very easy, no stress, you know, morning routine. And I said, it doesn't have to be something crazy. You don't have to have like a 2-hour, 3-hour morning routine. Simply when you wake up in the morning, assess your needs, right? What is it that your physical and emotional body, mental body needs right now, okay? So I set her up with something very simple. For her, you know, like keep a clean body, you can shower, wake yourself up in the morning, right? Listen to something positive. While you're showering, you can listen to some positive music, positive affirmations, a positive motivational speaker, something like that, right? And always have a fruit breakfast, something very hydrating, nourishing. That would be great, right? You can add little things to your morning routine. You can add yoga, stretching, if you want to move your body. You can add meditation. You can add reading. You can read for like a few minutes, right? You can add journaling to assess your thoughts. You can create a list of the things you have to do for that day. It depends from person to person what you feel like you need. And you don't have to do all of these things all at once, like every single day. It can change and switch around, right? So, you know, I told her about that, having that morning routine. And then, you know, since she herself is actually a coach, she's a coach to help people through like eating disorder, which is fantastic since she has a lot of experience with combating that, right? But, you know, she's taking on a lot. She says she has a lot of calls throughout the day, and then she's there for her clients, right? So I made sure that boundaries were respected between her and her clients, right? Since she has this coaching business, and that in between all of her duties throughout the day, that she was taking breaks, you know, take a break after like an hour or 2 hours of working, take a 15-minute break, take a 20-minute break, take a 30-minute break to do something that you want to do, right? To tickle your inner child, to, you know, express yourself, to relax, you know, to kick it back, hang loose, right? So in turn, doing that at nighttime, she's not going to feel like, oh, I didn't, you know, take care of me today. I was just giving and giving and giving and giving all day, and now my cup is empty. And even though I should be asleep at this time, I'm not going to, because it's not fair, right? Like, this is her ego mind talking. I'm not going to, it's not fair. I'm going to spend this time reading or, you know, watching a show or doing something because I had no time during the day, right? So that is going to take care of that, right? On top of that, from a physical standpoint, insomnia is caused by, you can either have a pituitary gland weakness or a pineal gland weakness, or both. What she had was a pituitary gland weakness. That's the master gland that controls all the other glands of the body. So it was bringing down the function of her pineal gland. Her pineal gland itself wasn't weak per se, but she had a lot of congestion that could be suppressing that pineal gland. So herbally, pituitary formula is what's going to go in her protocol. And herbally, she can also take calming, relaxing herbs in addition to, right before bed. So calming herbs, you can make a simple tea out of it. You can choose from chamomile, lemon balm, ashwagandha, you know, California poppy, skullcap, you know, all these different herbs can help de-stress the nervous system, quiet the mind, and quiet those racing thoughts and help you get to sleep. Now, she also had another issue was not being able to, like, you know, she had to wake up at night several times. So when I see that, people just waking up 1,000 times every night, it's usually one of two things. Either their anxiety wakes them up, so that comes from the adrenal glands having anxiety and stress. And number two, they could be waking up because it's the call of nature and they have to use the bathroom. So if you're someone with a very weak bladder, you can find yourself waking up several times at night, and of course that disturbs your sleep. So we, you know, address that bladder weakness in the beginning, right? So moving on. Oh yeah, and she mentioned restless legs. Restless legs comes from congestion in the lower back region. So that lymphatic system is obstructing nerve flow down the legs. And so the legs, you know, due to lack of circulation and nerve flow, you feel like moving them. It's kind of like an unconscious, involuntary movement that many people do. And I recommended to her to go to a chiropractor and adjust her back during her detoxification protocol, right? Because sometimes the spine just needs a little more alignment, and then everything can flow through very nicely. So the next thing that she had was something called aphantasia. And not too many people have this, but it's pretty much a mental condition in which you have trouble visualizing things mentally, like voluntarily. So for instance, people with aphantasia have trouble visualizing in their mind's eye when they're reading a book. They can't really see things physically, as well as it can affect dreaming, or it can also affect like learning. So, people that are visual learners, or if you're trying to recall something, especially if you're trying to recall someone's face, or you're trying to recall memories, or trying to recall a room, things like that, people with this disorder have a hard time visualizing that mentally and actually seeing it, right? So having troubles with visualization and memory connected in that way, I saw a big weakness in her frontal lobe, in her iris, so that area of the brain needs to be addressed. So brain and nerve is going to be very essential in this case. And I told her, with all the nerve rings, like we discussed in part 1, and then all these brain lesions that we're seeing, brain and nerve is going to be essential. And not only that, she said that she has problems with brain fog, and also she feels quite spacey a lot of the times and forgets things while she's talking. She has trouble, putting her thoughts into words. So a big weakness in the speech region I saw in her eyes as well. So upper circulation is also going to be very healing to that tissue of the brain. And yeah, of course, this goes without saying, the cleaning of her colon is going to be imperative at draining the brain, the sinuses, the head region to heal these tissues. So next after that, she also said that she has extremely dry eyes. And, in her genetics, her family had a lot of eye problems. So like take for instance, her mom has eyesight problems. Her father has eyesight problems in that he has red-green weakness, so like partially colorblind, right? Let me see if it was anywhere else in her, her sibling, her brother has eyesight problems too. Okay, I see some upper head issues here in her family line too. Mother has hair loss, cold sores. Let me see what else here. Okay, upper head, upper chest, grandfather from mother's side has chronic coughing. Okay, grandmother from father's side had cataracts. That's a big thing, cholesterol plaquing in the eyes. That, like, all these issues is signifying that, this tissue is having a hard time draining lymphatically. So these tissues are more prone to being unable to drain acidosis when things build up, right? So another thing, grandmother on father's side, dementia. Okay, and let me see what else. Yeah, so a lot of diseases are tied genetically to her experiencing these extremely dry eyes. So really, once you start to clean the head, dry eyes are not going to be a problem anymore. Burning eyes, sensitivity to your eyes, that's not going to be a problem anymore. So yeah. Okay, next was patches of psoriasis around my hairline and back of the neck. It is extremely itchy and dry. So we can see how she is lymphatically stagnated from head to toe. Something that can help calm things down when it comes to scalp psoriasis is, pretty much just dumping like a cold, cold herbal infusion or herbal tea. So things that are very calming to the skin are chamomile and marshmallow root. That's very helpful. At the same time, just cold in general can help, but you also have to make sure that you are using non-toxic shampoos as well. Sometimes there can be an ingredient in the shampoos or in the body care products that you're using that can have an ingredient that your body is not responding to well, but that's usually a small percentage of people. But pretty much if you're backed up lymphatically from head to toe, all this lymphatic sewage starts to try and come out through the scalp instead of the back way, instead of the other way. It's supposed to be draining down. But likewise, we see this occurring with people which have psoriasis and eczema and all these types of skin issues. It really just means that your kidneys are not filtering this acidic sewage. And so then the skin tries to eliminate it, because it's, at the end of the day, it's protecting all the cells of your body from the burning of these wastes. So it has to come out somehow. But then your skin takes the brunt of it, and then it starts to burn and itch. So all this burning and itching she is experiencing is very, very toxic sewage. And she even told me, she was like, Ailin, like I formed like this crustiness like on the back of my neck and my head, and it's quite gross, you know. And lymphatic sewage is gross. Lymphatic sewage, that's why we eliminate it, right? So you don't have to be experiencing those symptoms forever. You clean out your lymph system. We have many testimonials of people having healed their skin from head to toe of psoriasis, of eczema, of all these different skin issues, right? So really, you just have to make sure your kidneys are filtering, okay? And you check kidney filtration. This is how you do it. You check by peeing in a clear jar. After you pee in a clear jar, you set it aside for a few hours. Come back and see what your urine looks like. Your urine should be cloudy, should have mucus strands, should have sediment. It should have something. It shouldn't be clear. If it's clear, it means you're not eliminating your sewage, okay? And it's very important to have this consistent kidney filtration while on a raw diet, right? So it doesn't really say much if you're on a cooked diet or if you're eating meat or dairy or all these other things and you check your kidney filtration and see if your kidneys are filtering. That's not when it matters. It matters when you're on a detox program, when you are eating a raw diet, if you're seeing sewage then, okay? Because that is true kidney filtration, because that's when the body's channels of elimination open for you to actually remove the toxicity that you have built up years ago, okay? Not the toxicity that you're creating right now from eating junk or eating meat or cooked foods, right? It's the toxicity that you have to reach down and grab that has been obstructing your body for many years and decades, okay? That's when it matters, right? So doing that, she'll heal all this up. Now, she has anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression can come from a weakness in that hypothalamus gland in the reality OBSADD region. So we discussed that in part 1 and how we're going to address that. And number 2, anxiety can also come from the adrenal glands and nervous system. We discussed that in part 1 with having many nerve rings around the eyes. So brain to nerve spasm calm is very essential to helping combat that. And also likewise, different traumas from the past, which we discussed some of them in our consultation, and I could tell with the many times that she brought these past instances up. I checked to see if she had a weakness in the ego pressure region, because people that have suffered from any sort of abuse, like sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, you often see a weakness in the fibers in the ego pressure region in the brain, right? Also, if people have problems with relationships, whether that's family relationships or marital relationships, that can also create a weakness in that region of the brain, okay? So back to the hypothalamus again. That will help start to heal, start to open up, start to connect with your body to give you the chance to begin to heal these traumas, right? Because now you're able to walk with balance, and now you're able to see things with new eyes and fully accept the dark parts of the past, of your past, the dark parts of yourself, and become friends with it and realize that this world is full of, many contrasts, right? But you can't have the light without the dark. You can't have the dark without the light. People experience, the good and the bad over and over again. And the sooner we're able to come to terms with that, the better our life will be, the better experiences we'll have. Because even though you may be stuck in a rut or a dark place right now, realizing that it doesn't last forever and you're going to have good days and bright days ahead, then you learn to appreciate every moment of existence, and you know that things happen for a reason, right? So even if you don't fully see it now, you know, I'm sure many of you have had instances in the past where you've suffered a lot, right? And you didn't see it at that time, like why these situations were happening to you, but then several years later, now you understand why you had to go through that, right? To either serve a lesson or to propel you to in a different direction, right? So everything serves a purpose. And so, you know, that's just like one of the many realizations that you walk into further with detoxification. So the next thing that she said was, I get my period regularly, but my cycles are really long, often 40 days. Okay. Major pituitary weaknesses. The pituitary gland controls the female cycle. So we need to give her female reproductive formula and pituitary formula and/or. Okay. Now, vaginal pains. She said, I have not had sex in years, even though I'm in a relationship. It is painful and I feel pain around the entrance when I feel sexually aroused. When I self-pleasure, inside my vagina feels numb. I have experienced a lot of sexual violence in my life. I know it's connected. So we have that emotional connection too. So whenever women, or really anyone, when anyone has experienced sexual violence, you can notice that your reproductive system shuts down. Energy influences the physical. So addressing that from an energetic level, an emotional, a mental level can begin to release that energetic block, and then everything starts to work again. So the fact that that area is kind of like out of business for her, it could be a response by the body to try and kind of like protect herself from things like from that situation happening again. Even though, like, you know, it can be seen by some as like, okay, that's kind of like an irrational fear, whatever. That's how the nervous system works. The nervous system remembers everything. So heal things from an energetic point, right? I see this in women a lot. They tend to kind of like deny their sexuality a little bit, deny their femininity, kind of like block that part out if they have experienced abuse or sexual abuse. So becoming more friendly with your female cycle again and balancing that out can start the healing process. At the same time, in her uterus, her vaginal wall had a major weakness. I did see that, but her uterus was quite congested too. So I told her, when, you know, during your detox, after a month or two, everything's going to calm down. You're going to remove all this inflammation and acidosis, so you can try again at around like the 2-month mark period to douche with the Heal All tea. So like, don't put it in right now because then you might experience vaginal pain, but after like 2 months of detox, you should be able to insert like a douching bottle with Heal All tea to begin to bring it inside of your vaginal wall, your uterus, your cervix. All that can be cleansed out. In part 1, we saw that she did have a cervical cancer scare. So she already has been having female reproductive issues for quite some time. So addressing it physically will be beneficial, right? And yeah. So the next one is, let me see, cold sores. Okay. So yeah, so cold sores, she said, I don't get them very often anymore, but when I do, they last a long time. Anytime you experience cold sores or any viral loads, you have to cut out protein. Protein is like food for viral loads, and viral loads, actually their main action is as protein splitters. They split proteins, whether that's protein that you consume from your diet or whether that's protein in the terms of damaged cells in your body. So viruses, their main job is to go into the body and destroy that which they deem weak. It is the call of nature. It's something that we as humans cannot stop, and we should not stop. You know, nature and God knows way more than our mental capacity knows. So it's about living in line with nature, understanding that everything has a cause and effect. So eating the proper way based on your anatomy and physiology, biologically, as a species, humans are frugivores. So eating along those guidelines everything will work in conjunction with each other. We don't have to fear viruses. We don't have to fear all these different diseases, okay? So yeah, that's what I told her. And then the last thing was, I have been experiencing quite severe loss of enamel. It started after my 111-day master fast, to the point where there are brown, painful spots on my teeth, and they are rather brittle and sensitive. So this is what happens, guys. If you are someone that has malabsorption issues, adrenal issues, you know, for her, past of eating disorder, things like that, you should not be going on these fasts for months and months on end. For her, she of course went through a lot of things, right, with her weight gain and everything like that. That really wrecked her adrenal. So now she's experiencing this weight gain from the stress, the physical stress, emotional stress, all these different things burned out her adrenals. And not only that, when you go on a fast for that long, for someone that has malabsorption, someone that doesn't really have too many reserves to begin with, or if they are having trouble absorbing nutrition from their foods, then yes, that can cause loss of enamel. That can cause teeth or dental decay. So you have to think about it this way. This master fast, so there's master fast and then there's master cleanse. These are two very different types of fasts. Now, master cleanse, I like that cleanse. It's very great for people that are ready for it. Some people aren't ready for it, but after some time of doing a raw diet, then depending on where you are on your journey, then I'll recommend the master cleanse, which is essentially like a lemon juice. It's like squeezed lemon with water, with spring water, and then you can choose to put some sort of sweetener. You can if you want. I personally don't, but you can put like maple syrup, for instance. Some people add honey. I kind of don't like honey, but yeah, that's kind of like the master cleanse. Oh, and a pinch of cayenne pepper. Some people add that. Can help to drain the sinuses, but if you're sensitive to that, then don't add it, right? But that's besides the point. Now, master fast is something different. Master fast is a fast where you just drink cooked grape juice. So you know how it comes in like those like glass bottles, the grape juice, but it's pasteurized, it's cooked, but it's like, well, they have two types. They have from concentrate and not from concentrate, so like 100% grape juice or not. And of course the price is going to be more expensive for the grape juice that's not from concentrate, that's 100% grape juice. And so the master fast involves adding lemon juice to that, or some people add lime juice, right? Some sort of astringency like lemon or lime. And then yeah, that's a pretty powerful juice, because when it comes to grapes, raw fresh grape juice is more powerful than cooked grape juice. However, grapes are such healing foods that even cooking them down, it still retains some of its beneficial properties. And then adding the lemon and lime, of course, that's powerful astringency. So with the master fast, a lot of people have gone on it, but long term, you don't see results. People that have done and try to rush healing, try and go from eating like whole foods or raw foods or cooked vegan or standard American diet, they buy into this like, oh, if I just do a 3-month juice fast, I'll be healed after that. It doesn't work that way. No, you cannot cut your healing time to a fraction just by juice fasting in the beginning of your healing journey. No, it doesn't work like that. So she was very depleted after this fast. She got very thin, and then it stripped all the calcium out of her. With drinking this constant grape juice, and that's all she was drinking, it created a lot of teeth sensitivity. And that fruit sugar, if you're not maintaining your teeth properly, but if you're not getting adequate nutrition balance during that time, because your colon is so occluded, that can just be the tipping point to create teeth issues. So no, I don't recommend the master fast. I personally experimented with the master fast in the past, and I think I was able to do like 3 weeks most. And I did not see enough benefit. I didn't feel enough electricity through my nervous system and my brain as I did with a fresh raw juice fast, right? So I don't recommend the master fast. Now to reverse these teeth issues, alfalfa, kelp, high calcium, and high mineral. It has a lot of minerals in those herbs in that formula, and addressing the parathyroid gland as well is going to help reverse this dental decay and these brown spots that she's experiencing. But at the same time, you also need to use a remineralizing toothpaste. So coconut oil pulling is great. The tooth and gum powder coupled with coconut oil and brushing your teeth with that is fantastic. You know, the tooth and gum powder has like acerola cherry, it has you know, alfalfa, it has different clays in there, so it's really beneficial. And then yeah, really just any alkaline remineralizing toothpaste will do the trick. And also making sure that you floss, you know, proper dental hygiene, that goes without saying, but especially if you guys are like eating or drinking fruits and fruit juice, then the sugars, if you leave them on your teeth, then the bacteria is going to go on your teeth, and the bacteria, they poop, and then that's like more acid on top of your teeth. So I recommend after every fruit meal, just rinse your mouth, just rinse it with some water, or brush your teeth, floss twice a day at the very least. You know, a lot of this vegetable matter or grapes or you know, anything can get lodged in between the spaces of your teeth, so that's very important. Okay, so those were all of her main health issues. We got through them all. I can't believe we did. There were so many. But now I just kind of like want to go through her genetic family history so you guys can see where these genetics are coming from. All the weaknesses that I discussed while we were going through her symptoms, you can find a lot of that same story being repeated through her because of her family genetics. And the amazing thing about the herbal formulas and the glandulars is that they reverse genetic weaknesses, because detox isn't just about cleansing. It's cleansing, yes, deep cleansing, but then the end result of that should be regeneration of tissue, regeneration of genetic weaknesses. Okay, so I'm gonna discuss her mom first. So her mom had ovarian cysts, hair loss, lumbago, eyesight problems, skin issues, cold sores, right? So with the ovarian cysts, we can already tell that this client that came to me, you know, so the mom's daughter, right? She was very obstructed lymphatically in her female system. So ovarian cysts, the body starts to form these pocketed areas of lymphatic sewage to protect itself, right? So this was passed on to her. Hair loss, okay, what did she see, right? What did the daughter see? What did the client see? She saw psoriasis on her scalp and the back of her neck due to acidosis. But hair loss is also a symptom of lymphatic congestion and acidosis, only showing itself in a different form. That's what diseases really are. That's what symptoms really are. Several different symptoms and several different diseases can have the same cause, the same basis, but it shows itself in different ways. Okay, lumbago, so lower back problems, you know, tight muscles, right? I didn't say this, but my client said that she had like inflexibility problems with being flexible, and a lot of inflammation. So yeah, lumbago, lower back weakness, that's also denoting kidney and adrenal weakness as well. Eyesight problems, we discussed that. So her eyes, her upper head, skin issues, that's kidneys and congested skin. Cold sores, you know, that's viral loads. You have to avoid proteins. And her father has prostate issues. So again, prostate being a male reproductive organ, that transfers to the client as a uterus weakness, vaginal weakness. Alcoholism can stem from having a weakness in the reality OBS-ADD region, because pretty much any addictions can stem from having a weakness there. So that's alcoholism. Of course, if the father had alcoholism, it could have transferred into liver gallbladder issues for the client. Eyesight problems, that goes back again. So now here we go into the grandparents. So grandmother, lung and kidney cancer. Lung, kidney cancer. Whenever you have cancer, you have kidney weakness, lymphatic issues, a lot of the times thymus gland weakness, but specific in these organs. The lungs, she was already suffering from having, you know, the chest congestion, the throat congestion, the problems breathing, so that goes to the lungs. And kidneys, we already knew that she had weak kidneys even from her blood pressure. So grandmother had to have a hysterectomy. Again, with the female reproductive issues, she had to remove her uterus, maybe her cervix, because it was giving her so many problems. She also had ulcers. Okay, so this goes back to part one. In the part one video, we were discussing how, she was having a lot of abdominal pain. That and the signs in her iris were pointing to having stomach ulcers. And here it is genetically speaking too. Lumbago, so again, lumbago, lower back issues, and also skin issues. So you kind of see where this is taking us, right? Skin issues, reproductive issues, kidney and adrenal weakness, all throughout everyone's diseases. So her grandfather has myasthenia. So myasthenia is, or myasthenia gravis, is a disease that occurs when you're having trouble between the nervous system cells and the muscles. That junction is having problems with communication. So that can be a result of having a parasympathetic nervous system weakness. And especially with the production of acetylcholine that helps with that communication, that is what's going on. So again, we go back to nervous system weaknesses that we see here, and muscle weaknesses too with lumbago. Lung and kidney problems. Wow. So her grandmother and grandfather both had lung and kidney. And lastly, her grandfather also had chronic coughing. So this client was also experiencing symptoms very similarly with that sinus and throat congestion and coughing, right? Her grandmother on her father's side, now this is a second set of grandparents, had shingles. Shingles is a viral load issue within the nervous system. So with shingles, we have viral load problems and nervous system problems. Again, it's kind of like repeating itself over and over again. Cataracts, that's cholesterol plaquing, because you have so much acidosis in the eye and in the brain region that your body starts to plaque cholesterol and it starts to form those cataracts. Herniated discs, herniations anywhere in the body is due to loss of calcium. So it goes back to the parathyroid gland weakness. Dementia, upper head issues, so a lot of different mental and emotional disorders we see at play here. Anxiety, depression in the family, alcoholism, dementia, overweight, adrenal gland weakness, and thyroid weakness. So it seems to me like this client may have gotten some genetic weaknesses already starting to reveal themselves now due to so much stress, physical stress and emotional stress being put on her body, that now it's kind of coming to light from her grandmother on her father's side. So she got these weakened genetics of her adrenals and thyroid at play here from her grandmother on her father's side. And also cancer and osteoporosis. We discussed the cancer. Osteoporosis is another parathyroid gland weakness. Now her grandfather on her father's side had a stroke. Stroke is most of the time as a result of cholesterol plaquing, or it could have been a result of calcification, but either way, it is acidosis within the vascular system. And in the body's way of trying to combat that, it can plaque cholesterol within the arterial walls, creating just a small space for that blood circulation to go through. And it can also be calcifications within the vascular walls as well, creating that small space and space for a stroke. So hernias, that's parathyroid gland weakness. Heart valve problems, again, that's parathyroid gland weakness. We see so much parathyroid gland weakness is going on in this case. And with the parathyroid gland weakness, that can result in having nervous system issues, because calcium is a major molecule that inspires action within the nervous system, within all the cells. It makes things happen. It helps nerve impulses go throughout the body. Okay, so calcium is being used a lot, especially even with pregnant women, or if you're growing a baby inside of you, then calcium is being leached constantly to create a new life form in connective tissue, and also in creating a brand new nervous system. So a lot of pregnant women come to us with calcium depletion, with herniations, with uterine prolapse, with depression, with all these different things. So So you have to restore calcium. But in this case, it's structural calcium issues within the grandfather that created a stroke, hernia, and heart valve problems. So the heart valves, those structures require calcium, and the breakdown of that creates like very loose heart valve issues. It also controls the opening and closing of the valves in themselves, calcium. So calcium does so much in the body. And next he had joint rheumatism. That even goes without saying. So another thing that she's experiencing right now currently is joint issues in her knees, in her shoulders, and in her heel. So we see that with the grandfather. Now with her sibling has lymphatic congestion, eyesight problems, balding, shoulder issues. So again, it's the same thing. So what is our main takeaway? What are her main genetic weaknesses? Given all that, we can see what all her genetic weaknesses are. So like we said before, major reproductive issues, nervous system weakness, parathyroid gland weakness, lungs, skin, eye, is pretty much those were the main things, right? So let's see how I'm going to close off this video. I think I've given you guys a lot in the discussion of this case. Of course, there's going to be some things that I discussed with her and that I added on her case that I didn't have time to discuss in this video, but you kind of see like the general focus of what I was thinking about when I was building this client's diet plan and herbal protocol. And diet wise, I will say this, since she has past of eating disorder, I like to start people off with not too many restrictions, because you want to heal the glands involved in having an eating disorder, heal those more before going on a more restrictive diet, like a 100% raw diet, right? So it's better for her to start with level 1 of detox. Like I discussed in part 1, it was eating fruit all day, salad for lunch, and having a salad with a cooked vegan meal at night. That's fine. I asked her, if that sounded good for her, if that sounded doable. She said yes. She was very comfortable with starting at that place. And then, I told her, it's okay if you mess up. I'm here to guide you. Like, I'm not going to scold you guys if you mess up, because with detox, you're not 100% perfect all the time. It's not possible. Even if there's people online that show like they're 100% perfect all the time, they're not. There are times when they themselves need to balance out by eating some cooked food, and that's fine. As long as you're doing great most of the time, then that's fine. And of course, if you've been detoxing, if you're doing really great for a few months and then you need a break, like a few weeks, that's fine, and then you go back. Because guess what? Every one of my clients that have healed 100%, they were not 100% perfect all the time. They were perfect most of the time, and they just needed those breaks in between, and then they hit it hard when they needed to hit it hard, okay? So you just need to read your body, and that's what I help you guys do. I come from a balanced approach. And what I loved is that this client told me that she really sought me out. She wanted me to be her detox specialist because she liked that I came from that balanced approach and not from a super militant approach. Like a lot of detox specialists come with this like very rigid approach, like, no, if you're not 100% raw, like that's not going to be good, or if you're not fasting, that's unacceptable. And I'll tell you guys this much, reveal this to you. I get a lot of those people's clients because they fail or they get worse, and they come to me and we heal them up. I just want to be 100% honest with you guys. That happens all the time. And you guys tell me, those clients tell me, they say, I wish I would have just gone with you first, Ailin. And I wish I wouldn't have, I wish I would have either found you first, or I wish I would have made the decision to go with you first. Because at the end of the day, quality, experience, wisdom, that shines through. And just going to someone that promises you like, oh, you're going to heal this with just a fast, that doesn't work. Doesn't work. And I've discussed this case with you guys because I thought it was a very good example of what, of what to be aware of when you're detoxing, what detox is and what detox isn't. Detox at the end of the day is loving your body 100%, and working with your body to heal yourself and not being militant. Only being stricter with yourself when your body is ready to be strict with yourself. The more raw foods you eat, the more you clean out your body in a balanced way in the beginning, and then getting a little more strict, okay? A little more strict, like strict is not even the word, because by the time you reach those levels, it'll be so easy for you. You won't feel stressed in your nervous system and your adrenals. Your body will be called to follow a cleaner, more simple diet, okay? So yeah. So let me know, you guys, if you like this style of video. I really enjoyed it because I like piecing all these things together. And yeah, so thank you all so much for watching this video. And if any of you want to work with me one-on-one, you can go to my website at www.spiritropicalhealing.com. I recommend the Master Your Health package that you'll find on the services tab, because it'll bring everything. Like I discussed in this case, it'll bring your health notes, your diet plan, herbal protocol, and iris analysis, a consultation with me, and it's pretty much everything that you've always wanted within a package to heal yourself. And it brings everything that you need to get started and to be confident that this is going to be the last thing. This is going to be the last thing that you need in your life to heal your health issues, okay? So all this information is found in the description box down below, and the link to my website is down there, okay? So have a wonderful day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.